Hello and welcome to another episode of WCCF Tech Reviews. I am Jeff, your host. Today we're going to be looking at Wolfenstein: The New Order, published by Bethesda. You know, there's something about Wolfenstein: The New Order that really draws you into it. Something that grabs a hold of you and compels you to continue watching, because ultimately at its heart it is a cinematic expose that sort of details an alternate history should it, the unfortunate happen, or have happened during World War II. And what an expose it really is, though. It is riddled with cutscenes in which you can do nothing but watch. But the funny thing is, those well-written dialogue scenes, the excellent voice acting, and the general atmosphere is a very powerful reason to continue watching and to continue playing. And quite honestly, I hate cinematic games. Those that rely on the veritable cutscenes like they do as the means to an end, as a means to tell the story. Sometimes if they do it, such as the Order 1886, they do it too much, and they really sometimes go too far. And this does, to an extent, though it has a different feel to it, and it's still quite fun. Incredibly fun, oddly enough. But BJ Blazkowicz is back, and he's certainly better than ever, having been dormant for years, 14 to be exact. We find him having reconciled his past quite well over that time, ready once again to fight for the basic freedoms that all humans should enjoy. The game starts out very violent, and it doesn't really let up. Obviously, you're watching some violence in a hospital in the beginning, and of course he inevitably escapes that hospital with using nothing more than a dull butter knife, for crying out loud. Oddly enough, Blazkowicz has retained his muscle mass as a result of being so very, very badass. And of course, from there, it's all muscle memory for such a hardened warrior. He is indeed a natural-born Nazi killer, as he claims. And quite frankly, he's rather good at it. Anyway, the year is 1960. You've been in a coma for 14 years after an unfortunate accident while having been taken prisoner by the Nazi Party, and the Nazis have taken over the world. You discover this slowly as you experience time in sort of a non-linear fashion while you're helplessly observing the struggles of life around you, and while you're in an asylum in Poland. And oddly enough, the resistance is just around the corner waiting for you to join up so that you may enhance their capability, because you are in quite the resilient specimen. But not at all as well, obviously, because you're in a coma, because you had that accident, and you have to watch these events unfold in front of you, not really understanding what's going on. Anyway, eventually you do get out, like I said, with that butter knife, which is pretty darn impressive. And as you go on, the cinematics, definitely do have a big role in this, and as cinematic as it may be, between those filmic moments in the game, is a game that celebrates the very core of the Wolfenstein series. It's fast-paced, it's brutal, and it's downright violent. Sometimes it can be incredibly fast-paced, and it's fun. And, quite honestly, that's what we'd expect from a Wolfenstein game. And it does evoke fond memories of even the original from 1992, which is quite nice to see and nice to feel. Because even though it is obviously a modern interpretation of the classical Wolfenstein, it is a much better interpretation than the previous games have been. It really brings together all those fast-paced, gory elements and makes it quite nice. And it's fun, too. And not just because it's a serious representation of a horrific alternate history. The weapons specifically are very well designed, very artful. The models themselves are easy to use, and of course ammo is plentiful. And of course the most fun part, of course, is bouncing the shotgun rounds off the wall to damage your foes. It's actually kind of fun. Or you can just dual wield 2 assault rifles, go into town, and whoever might get in your way. It really is quite satisfying, and it really does feel like Wolfenstein of old, which is good. Anyway, stealth, oddly enough, is a key component here. If you want it to be, you can. You can be as stealthy as you want. You have a little meter that'll show you when the enemy is aware of your presence, and is really neat. But you can actually be stealthy, and it works pretty well. And you can do some levels entirely silently, using just your knife as either a throwing weapon or doing some very gruesome takedowns with some quite savage animations. And so stealth can be used, and it doesn't feel like it's a secondary aspect of the game. So we like it because, the graphics are great. ID Tech 5 still looks pretty good, even on PC. There's a lot of different options you can use. The atmosphere is top-notch. The art style, the models, all that are just fantastic. And of course, the music adds a lot to it as well. The music is very good, as are the sound effects. And quite honestly, we also enjoy the stealth aspect. It's great. And aside from all that, the deep and very well put together story, and the fact that it's linear without actually feeling like it's linear, is also a huge good point for this game, because you are guided in a fashion towards an end goal, and you can only go in so many directions, but it doesn't necessarily feel like that. It feels natural, and it's kind of cool the way that it does that. It's very nice. But we don't like it because of that awful laser cutter that you have to use, because it's a horrid mechanism, at least until you get the more powerful version. That's also, quite the weapon later on. And really, there are too many cinematic breaks where you can do nothing but watch. Granted, it is a great story, and you can skip them for the most part once the level is loaded. So, in the first couple of seconds, you have to wait while everything's loaded in the background, but then you can skip them. And let's be honest here, it is a really good story, and it is fun to watch those because it does add to the story. But all in all, it's a fantastic first-person shooter that weaves a wonderful tale of desperation around a classic character and updates him and evolves him to become more than meets the eye. And it really is a surprise, even to this day. It's a surprise of a game, and it is a tremendous amount of fun to play. Because bringing that classic character into a 2015 game and making him what he is, and taking this deep storyline that they did, is fantastic. So it's definitely a very large surprise. And even though it might at first seem quite mindless, like a mindless first-person shooter, it's not. You look a little bit deeper and you shall be rewarded. It is much more than meets the eye. Now, this is perhaps the absolute best part of this game, right here. Reliving all those memories from 1992 and this remastered glory. It's fantastic. It's a mix of both 3D and 2D, and it actually looks pretty good. Plays well, too. And this here is my attempt at a speed run. Although it's not that speedy, because I've forgotten a lot about this level, unfortunately, and it took me a while to sort of catch on to what I was doing. But here we are, playing remastered Wolfenstein 3D. A beautiful game. Probably the best part, not gonna lie.